Kashmir Images, 5th of January 2024, Pakistan's involvement in Bangladesh, repercussions for China and India's security. Indian dynamics. Bangladesh is entangled in China's all-out battle on the Indian subcontinent. Following a bloodbath and numerous atrocities committed against the Bangla people by the Pakistani army to silence any dissenting voices and weaken the cultural identity of the people, the country gained independence in 1971. This was achieved through various steps and measures, such as declaring Urdu the official language for all purposes and harshly suppressing activism that originated in the former East Pakistan. In December of that year, the country was liberated, giving rise to Bangladesh. The Awami League has been more popular throughout the 1970s, and following the liberation, a government led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was established in 1971. Since then, there have been several political killings, coups, and counter-coups that have left the nation in a perpetual state of political unrest. When Ziaur Rahman took over the country and instituted military control in 1975 following the assassination of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, it marked a significant turning point in political history. Zia's leadership brought about several significant developments in Bangladesh. By instating Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim in the preamble of the Bangladeshi constitution, he idealized Sharia and Islamized the nation. Zia's control over Bangladeshi politics was further cemented in 1979 when the country's courts and tribunals barred any law issued during the martial law era from being challenged. This was the fifth constitutional amendment. In addition, Zia's repressive government changed ties with Pakistan and established diplomatic channels, which will be examined in the following parts. Overall, the assessment is that the IC has created terrorist groups in India's backyard by using proxies like Lashkar and Jamaat-e-Islami to spread jihadist ideologies and radicalize young people. This will jeopardize India's integrity and national security and hinder Bangladesh's economic growth and development. The two political parties vying for control in Bangladesh, the Awami League, (AL), and the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, have opposed philosophies. Awami League views are more secular and center on economic development. Bangladesh Nationalist Party views are more radical Islamic, emphasizing the Muslim Brotherhood and jihad. Liberation has played a significant role in Bangladeshi politics. Since AL and BNP have such dissimilar meanings, their ideologies impact their policies and political positions on various national and international issues. Since Sheikh Hasina became office in 2009, she has acted decisively to stop radicalization and established a tribunal to look into several political assassinations, including the death of her father, Mujibur Rahman. The Awami League has consistently worked to provide stability, progress, and a democratic government to Bangladesh. Since the 1990s, Bangladesh has served as a staging ground for the IC's destabilization of northeastern India. Radical groups have used the ethnic swamp of Lower Assam as a genuine entry point to penetrate the core of mainland India. The rise of radicalization in the Indian subcontinent, the polarization of India's democracy, and the significant entry of the terrorist organization Al-Qaeda linked to the Ansarullah Bangla team into Assam from Bangladesh all seem to support the theory that this caused the rise of fundamentalists. The IC operates as a state within a state, and only a small number of elected representatives in Pakistan have shown the ability to stop this insane administration in previous decades, even though there has been something of a Cold War between democratic organizations inside Pakistan and the IC. The deep state requirements for the IC's operations remain untarnished by democratic oversight, and Lieutenant General Nademanim, the current head of the agency, is probably focusing his attention on making up for Sheikh Hasina's loss and establishing Bangladesh's territory around India in opposition to a new narrative that denigrates India. Since the Chinese government officially recognized Dhaka in 1975, Bangladesh and China have maintained diplomatic ties. Since then, their friendship has grown and changed from a typical company to an all-around one. Due to several advantageous contracts, trade agreements, collaborative industrial and commercial organizations, and steadily expanding collaboration sectors, Bangladesh and China's relationship has dramatically expanded. There is now a strong political relationship between the two countries in the area. The economic link between investment and commerce movement is augmented to a significant extent. Like almost every South Asian state, China has made enormous investments in the nation over the past few decades. Between 2015 and 2021, Chinese FDI increased from $69.73 billion to $444.85 million. Notably, the Chinese are Bangladesh's second-largest contributors, only surpassed by Americans. China has funded chiefly the apparel, textile, energy generation, and infrastructure industries. Chinese investment in the country's manufacturing and electricity-generating sectors is also a part of the BRI. Beijing, which comes in third place in this region's GDP rankings only below Pakistan, has pledged to spend $38 billion across the country. The two nations have a robust industrial partnership, but it isn't very objective toward the PRC. Trade between the two nations increased from $14.8 billion in 2015 to $30 billion in 2022. Nearly all of Bangladesh's imports from the rest of the world, consisting mainly of refined petroleum products, textiles, and technology, come from China. According to the Chinese ambassador to Dhaka, Yao Wen, the Chinese favor the elections in Dhaka being held legally and encourage the participants to resolve their differences and maintain social and political harmony. When the International Monetary Fund formally charged Bangladeshi officials with corruption during a large construction complex crossing the Padma waterways in 2012, it marked a turning point in the country's relations with China. Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, viewed the International Monetary Fund's assertion as a challenge to her professional credibility and asked China for help concluding the situation. While Bangladeshi human rights groups, coalitions of opposition parties, the general populace, and opponents of the Awami League regime overwhelmingly favor U.S. policy towards Bangladesh under Biden's presidency, the Chinese mainland, like India, has endorsed Prime Minister Hasina. At the 2023 BRICS summit, Hasina met Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines. Xi assured Hasina that Beijing would not tolerate outside influence in Bangladesh and would strengthen trade relations with the country, supporting Bangladesh in the event of U.S. exertion. People who are critical of the ruling Awami League in Bangladesh assert that the government is modeled after Chinese leadership, where there is no ideological competition, presidential elections are treated like formalities, political expression is curtailed, and constructing roads and bridges is prioritized over maintaining constitutional security. After the next election, which many observers think is unlikely to be open to everyone since the Awami League wishes to maintain its power and will use its machinery to do so, there is a risk that Dhaka may drift even more towards Chinese control. Given the complexity and depth of the individual-to-individual interactions between the U.S. and Bangladesh, the Dhaka administration may not ignore the U.S. for very long. China and the U.S. are both necessary for Dhaka, but only one is actively attempting to push Bangladesh toward turning to China. Results of China's current war campaign. The most recent presidential election in the Maldives gave rise to Indian-Chinese competition, which led to Mohammad Moise, the newly elected president, using the statement "Indians away" as a central theme of his campaign. Additionally, throughout the Nepalese campaign of 2022, we witnessed both significant forces vying for position. Even if Bangladesh's situation differs from that of its neighboring South Asian counterparts, competition from China and India is still crucial. The growing international conflicts surrounding the upcoming elections indicate that both countries' interests in Bangladesh have risen over the past 20 years. Whatever the reasons behind India's measured response, it is clear that the United States is no longer solely viewing the Bangladeshi situation via an Indian prism. Instead, India's standing in the 2024 legislative elections in Bangladesh will be significantly impacted by its emphasis on promoting a system of government in that country, especially to counter the nation's increasing Chinese influence.